Rain hammered the broken tin roof as 19-year-old Lila knelt in the muddy clearing, hands trembling, her breath short and erratic. The barrel of a rifle stared her in the face, inches from her forehead. Her knees bled from the jagged rocks beneath them, but she barely felt it. What she felt, what wrapped around her chest like a cold, tightening belt, was fear. Not of dying, but of dying alone, anchored, with no trace left behind. Across from her stood a man barely older than she, early 20s maybe, clothed in the rough patchwork of a rebel uniform. His eyes were hollow, but his fingers trembled. He wasn't a monster. Not yet. Please don't shoot, Lila said, the words pouring out in a mix of desperation and defiance. If you let me live, I'll bear you children strong and marry you. The words came unfiltered, surprising even her. She didn't mean them as a plea for submission, not in the way they make bass sounded. She meant, I still have life in me. I still believe in hope. In building, not destroying. Don't take that from me. The soldier blinked, stunned. Rain streaked down his cheeks, disguising tears. A silence swelled between them, thick and aching. Then he lowered the rifle. Lila didn't know why he did it. She didn't ask. All she knew was that instead of dying in that clearing, she walked away, mud-soaked, heart-pounding, with her life intact. The soldier had vanished by the time she turned around. 4 days after, the village whispered of the rebels. Some were shot, some taken. Lila stayed quiet, never revealing her encounter. But something in her changed. She had glimpsed a sliver of mercy in the heart of war. It haunted her. She left home soon after, moving to the city, determined to use her life not to forget the past, but to reshape its meaning. She studied nursing during the day and worked in a shelter at night. Most of the people she met were the broken kind. Men with prison scars, children with war-touched eyes, women hiding bruises beneath silence. And then one night, 10 years later, she saw him. She was handing out blankets at the shelter when she met a man named Eli. Bearded, quiet, eyes haunted in a familiar way. When he saw her, his hand trembled slightly as he accepted the blanket. Their eyes locked, and recognition bloomed slowly, like a reluctant sunrise. You, she whispered. His jaw tightened. You remember. How could I forget? Eli said nothing for a long time. He stood still, blanket in hand, until finally, voice low, he murmured, I almost pulled the trigger. I don't know why I didn't. I wasn't a good man. Lila looked at him for a long moment, then gestured for him to sit beside her on the shelter bench. Edith. I never saw you again, she said softly. I always wondered what happened. I ran, he replied. I left the unit that night. I stayed in the woods for a week. Eventually crossed into the city. Took odd jobs. Sometimes I stole to eat. I slept in alleyways, and I hated myself every day. Lila placed a hand gently over his. But you didn't pull the trigger. That one choice saved 2 lives. Yours and mine. Eli's voice cracked. But I did awful things before that. We all carry shadows, she said. But you gave me the chance to build a life. Now you can build yours. From that night on, Eli started coming to the shelter every evening, not for a blanket or food, but to help. Quietly, humbly. He fixed broken chairs. Cooked when no one else showed. Slowly, he earned the trust of others. Children laughed around him. Women offered him smiles. It began to change, not into someone new, but someone finally free. And Lila, she changed too. Her walls softened. She hadn't loved since that war-torn day, but something in Eli's quiet redemption stirred something within her. She admired not just what he was becoming, but the courage it took to face who he'd been. One spring evening, while planting a garden behind the shelter, Eli handed her a small carved bird they whittled from scrap wood. It's not much, he said, shrugging. Lila turned it over in her hands. It's beautiful. It's for you, he said, meeting her eyes. You saved me that day. Not just by sparing my life, but by believing it could still be worth something. She looked at him, heart-catching. Then, with a soft smile, you remember what I said that day? It chuckled, a little sheepish. About marrying me and bearing children strong? Yeah. She grinned. I meant it differently back then. But today? You don't know. Maybe I still mean it. Ellie was silent for a long moment. Either like that, he said. To build something real. Something good. They married a year later in a small ceremony behind the shelter, surrounded by the people they served. Former street kids walked Lala down the aisle. Refugees cooked the food. A man with one hand played a borrowed violin. When their first child was born, a girl with eyes like the sky before rain, they named her Mercy. Lala often told Mercy the story of how she came to be, not with the darkness first, but the light that followed. Your father chose compassion over cruelty, she would say. And from that, everything grew. Years passed. The shelter expanded. Ellie went back to school, became a counselor. Lila opened a community clinic. Their family grew, 2 more children, a garden of wild laughter and healing. But they never forgot that day in the rain. When Mercy turned 18, she asked her mother why she ever said those words, why they offered marriage to a stranger with a gun. Lila smiled gently. It wasn't a promise, she said. It was a protest. Against death. Against hate. I was reminding him, and myself, that life was still worth choosing. And in that moment, Mercy understood. Final mensaje. The power of a single act of mercy can rewrite a lifetime of pain. In the darkest of moments, compassion is the rebellion. No matter who you've been or what you've done, one brave, kind choice can begin a story you never imagined. Ope, like love, don't arrive in grand declarations. It comes softly. In rain. In trembling hands. In the decision not to pull a trigger.